And as always, we're going to be looking for accurate context, good risk management, and always exercising good patience.
Anytime you're talking about fundamentals in a market and direction, fundamentals take a little bit of time to play out.
We got crude oil today, kind of trading yesterday's value area really nicely, low to high.
That's what we're here for, is to put ourselves in the best success. A trading routine does that, builds that habit, lets you know what to work on, what to reflect on, and what to improve on the next day.
Good morning, friends and traders. Welcome to the Market Forecast. I am not John Hoagland. I am Dan Hodgman. John, unfortunately, is going to be out here this morning. He had some stuff come up, so I got the call late to come in and talk some markets with you guys. I want to be up front with you. Fridays are my day where I go to the gym a little bit later. I don't really trade much on Fridays unless there's a big number coming out or I've got bigger positions on. This morning, I got the call on my way into the gym, so I did my workout. So we're moving a little slower than usual for Friday morning for prep, but hey, it's all right. We got a lot of opportunity. These markets are setting up nicely. We got crude oil opening up right now below settlement price. We got a really good chance to see possibly that one close the gap to settles, and that 86.50 is haunting up above. We'll see if we can make our moves up there. We got equities continuing this fear, this sell-off. Hey, there's a lot going on, right? We've heard a lot from Fed this year. Fed talking about how they're going to hike rates. We got inflation. Let's talk about inflation. That's the biggest talk this year. 7% year over year. I mean, everything is costing more. I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing it left and right everywhere I go. My expenses are up. So that is having an effect on, if it's having an effect on me, it's having an effect on you, and it's having an effect on the economy as we see this inflation continue to rise. So that's something that's going to really have a major effect on these equities. And I want to talk about that a little bit this morning. Finance that car. You're not going to go finance 100% of it. You're looking to finance a piece of it. I'm seeing I got a network connections issue. Hold on. I know what that is. We're going to fix this here. Sorry about that. But you think about it, right? If you're going to buy a new car, a lot of people, you go buy a used car, you look to buy a 3-year-old car. Let's take a basic car here. You know, if you bought it new for $35,000, 3 years later, 40,000 miles on the car, it's probably a $17,000, $18,000, $20,000 car at that point. Well, that's not the case right now. That $35,000 car that you bought 3 years ago, today with 40,000 miles on it is worth $35,000. So the person or that person that tends to buy that used vehicle and rolls every few years, they're taking those hits, and we're seeing that across the board. And so when you start to have to kind of pay up for, you know, those necessities, and I think, you know, there are certain things in life that are a necessity that are costing us more money. When we have those necessities, it's affecting how much money we're going to put into the markets, right? And then you've got the Fed. Oh, let's talk Fed. Potential interest rate hikes coming towards the end of the year. This tapering of assets, that's a big one we want to think about. That's got a concern, right? That's going to be pulling money out of markets. Obviously, they're going to be able to do some more juggling. It is the Fed. They're not just going to take it. They're going to adjust and move. So there's a lot going on. So these equities right now, they're seeing a little bit of concern, a little bit of fear. We got NASDAQ has moved through the 10% mark, but we're not far off now from the 15% from those highs we saw back in November. We'll talk on that when we get into the daily, but just as a heads up, that 15% mark is 14,250 rounded. I'm not getting crazy with numbers here. And then S&Ps are getting pretty close to that 10% pullback from highs. That is 43.27. So we're seeing these markets make some moves. Correction territory, we're seeing kind of pull back. And we got some opportunity. And keep in mind, 10% correction, that's a regular thing. We see that all the time. If we start getting concerns, I'm going to be more concerned if we start seeing territories like we saw about 2 years ago. If you guys recall, 2 years ago about this time, COVID was really ramping up. Everyone got through the holidays. You started hearing about people getting sick. You started hearing this little conversation about COVID, but it wasn't as concerning. But then towards the end of January into February is when we started to see these markets really start to flip over. So we're coming up on that 2-year mark on that, and that's when we started seeing these markets do those 30 plus percent moves to the downside. All right, so we've got a lot going on here. You got euro kind of making that grind higher, right? No surprise here. It's kind of fallen back into a nice channel that we've seen this market trading in for quite some time. We broke out of it towards the tail end of last week and early this week. We've rotated back inside that channel, which I like to see. So some levels are setting up. And well, yields continue to drop. We're seeing the yields dropping. What does that mean for treasuries? That means we're going to see that 10-year note continue the grind higher. It's already kind of begun. We had a nice pop last night on the open, and that market's really continued to take off. All right, I'm going to say good morning to everybody, and I see some questions too, so we'll touch on that. We got time this morning, so if you do have any sort of question on anything, please, let's dive into them. I don't have great levels for you today, but I got some good things for us to look at. So we'll jump on those in the charts, but bring in some questions. Liam, good to see you. Jimmy, Rick, good to see you. Shaw, good morning. Vietnam or from Thailand, nice to see you. Januz, Terry, Theodora, Brian, Laura, good morning to you. Robert, Galen, Alfred, Andres, Jeff, Jorg, Kevin, Equanimus, good morning. Lombard, Illinois, right? Phil, good morning. Pascal, David, Three Lions, it'd say good morning to you. Yes, Bill, it looks like everyone lining up at the altar. I like that. Good morning, Chris, Jim, Charles, Sarah, Cheryl, Federico, Expediter, Merrick, Cheryl. Yes, had a great workout. You know what? New year, new me. I don't know if that's the saying, but summer's around the corner, right? We want to be in good shape for that one. And it's snowmobile and ski season for me. I got a lot of snowmobiling. I got a lot of skiing ahead of me this year. I think I'm heading out to Colorado soon. I got Montana, big sky skiing. I got a couple snowmobile trips. I got to make sure I'm in shape for all those. Alfred, yeah, we can talk about that naked point of control for sure. We'll see if we can even find one on the charts for us. Reyes, good morning. Michael, BOE has a rate hike next month. Yeah, and I know ECB, drawing a blank on the name, they're talking right now too. So that's having some effects. Euro's going to be affected by that one. Leahy, good morning. What's the fish on the wall? That is it's a crappie I caught back in 1997. So it was a nice crappie I caught fishing with my grandpa back in 1997. Alessandro, good morning. Scott, David, Seppel, Rob, Jeffrey, main points. Did anyone catch the move yesterday in NQ? For some reason, it just froze. You know, I'm not going to toot my own horn too much, but I'm not going to lie. I caught that move. Got a few hundred points out of that NQ yesterday. I was pretty excited about that one. Part of the reason I wasn't too concerned about coming in this morning. Michael, good morning. See, good morning. All right, guys, let's take a look at these charts real quick. Let's kind of run through them. If you've got questions, things you want to talk about too at the end, we got plenty of time. We'll get into it. We'll take a look at this stuff. I'm here for it all. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at these charts. And let's start, as always, we're making a look at our crude oil, right? So here's our daily. I just want to get our visuals. Like I said, I don't use these TS Trader charts for my own stuff, for my own prep, and I'm not usually looking at dailies in the recap. So I want to take a look at what we've got going on. So we're going to walk through kind of things that I'm looking at myself. So first and foremost, I like to pay attention. Where are those prior levels of those swing highs that this market kind of created establishment? When we saw that back here, back in October into November, we saw some, it was the mini, James. Back in October to November, we saw this market kind of start to plateau right up here about $80. No surprise there, right? $80. BFRN, that big fat round number, we know that that's going to be a pivotal location. So first, it's one of the first things we're going to look at. Next, I want to see what this market's doing. And there's no question, there's no doubt about it, there's no hesitation about this market. It is in a trend higher. So how do we kind of define this for ourselves? This is how I need to do it. This is how I go about my trading. I want to define my channel because I'm a channel trader. Whether you see this market trending higher, trending lower, or working sideways, we can always kind of create some sort of channel for us. So I define my channel. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go ahead and sit down and I'm going to define my channel. And as we can kind of start to see here, once the market started to make this current directional trend. After we had a little bit of weakness, which we were in an uptrend, we saw weakness. We did not establish new lows. All right, good opportunity for trend to continue. So what we want to look for when we look at this on a daily chart to help kind of establish location of trades, right? I'm looking at this market, and as I see market approach high side of channel, that's where my opportunity is saying, hey, I'm not going to look for this market for a huge uptick today. Maybe I'm going to see some more rotation back to the inside. As we start, you guys can kind of see it. As we work our way to the high, we sell. As we work our way to high, we rotate lower. As we work from low, we start to grind ourselves a little bit higher, and we come back inside. So Ryan, no, I don't use Trade-Evate for my personal stuff. I have a TT platform. But here we got Trade-Evate for all of our video stuff. So that's what I'm looking at. So now as we look a little bit closer into what crude oil is doing, I got settlement price up above at 85.55. 85.55. I like where settlement price is here today. But before I get to that market, when this market opens up here in 4 minutes, the big question is going to be, are we going to start to accept inside? We got value low from the last 2 days between 35, 85, 35, 85, 45. We've got value low between the two areas here, right? So I need to see this market start to accept inside before I look for rotation back to that grand old 86.50 up above. We've got that double top. Obviously, this market has traded above here, but we've seen this market reject up by 86.50 a couple times, or we can even bring it up to 86.80 if we really want. 86.50 is that level that I'm paying attention to, right? So that's what I'm going to look for. This market opening up. If we open up, I want to see this market trading inside. I want to look for an opportunity. Where my trades are going to start to come is where I want to see this market get to point of control. All right, so naked points of control, we talked about that. That is when we have, let's say our point of control from yesterday is up here, right? That's when that point of control is completely off on its own. We want to look for a naked point of control check and for that market. So that's basically what we're going to look for when we talk about naked point of control. It's kind of in an island by itself. It's away from any sort of trade. It has not been checked during regular trading hours, has not been traded on at any point. So that's what we talk about when we talk naked point of control. So that's what I'm looking for here is I'm just looking to see this market check point of control. Once we check point of control, that's when I'm going to start to have to pay attention to order flow. Is this market going to continue in direction, and am I going to be able to rotate low to high, or is this market going to reject? So that's what I'm looking at. This is an elastic market. We know the crude oil can move pretty good, right? So just because I start to move inside value right here, value again, 85.48 is value low with settlement price up at 85.55, right? 85.55 is our settlement price here. So I got three key levels between 48 and 70. I have three important levels for me when this market starts trading. So I'm not going to get crazy right away. I want to see this market show some acceptance inside. Once I start to see some acceptance inside, and what is acceptance? And what is acceptance? We want to think about that, right? Acceptance is different for each and every person. Often open, I'm looking to see this market at least hold up in here off that opening range, continue in here for, I'm going to probably look for at least 15 to 30 minutes of this market kind of holding inside this value before I'm starting to say, hey, I'm seeing some short time acceptance. Once I see this market accept, then we got some opportunity to work from low to high. If not, if we reject value, we already started to see it reject yesterday's regular trading hours. Granted, we haven't opened up, but once we see this market open up, if this market continues to reject, we've got a lot of room to the downside. No question about it. But I'm looking here. We're in an uptrend here in the since the overnight session that we want to kind of keep our eyes on. But if this market really starts to rotate inside, $83 is going to be my key level down below. All right, next, let's go ahead and look at the S&P 500. S&P 500, like we said, continuing this big downtrend, right? We're slowly working our way through moving averages. I want to point this one out. We have moved through the 200 period moving average. 200 period moving average has been moved through in the S&Ps. Where is that? Right here at 45.08. Key level, right? If this market starts to rotate higher, 200 period moving average is a very fair value price at this point. So let's look a little bit closer and see what this market's doing. Where are we going to find some opportunity? All right, so we've got settlement price in this market at 44.74 3/4. 44.74 3/4. So we are currently just a little bit below settlement price. On the open here, that's going to be a good area to look. Can I get this market to rotate towards settlement price? If we see rotation to settlement price, hey, we may see a rather inside day. It's been a huge downtrend week. You guys know me. I like to talk about this idea of a hangover. Markets get a little hungover after big, huge moves. Do we see that hangover today? If we do, I'm really keeping this thing tight. We're going to look over this overnight swing high here right at 77, and I'm going to right now start to look no lower. I'm not even going to probably make it all the way down to value low here, or overnight low. I'm going to tighten things up a little bit for myself off this open. Now, that can change rather quickly here in the next 35 minutes, right? If this market opens up and we start to make some directional move to the upside. If we start to make directional move to the upside, we have a lot of opportunity. And I'm talking all the way up here to value low from yesterday. And there's still a ton of room to continue to the upside. But what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for this market to kind of, if we directional move to the upside, I'm going to look to see if we can get to value. Just to yesterday's value. I'm not going to look for value low to high. I'm going to look to see if we can get to value. That in and of itself is a huge move and a huge recovery for a market like this, especially going into a Friday when we don't really have any positive excitement coming out of these markets yet. All right, so we might need a little bit of news to kind of accelerate that move. Now, if not, I want to point out down below, we're still a decent ways away. But down below at 43.27 down here, let's just make sure we give ourselves a little eye on it. 43.27 right here is that 10%. That is where our 10% move is going to be. We're not far off. If the shorts continue to come in today, I don't see this being an intense or a very unreasonable location for this market to get. Do I want to see it get there? No, I don't need to see it get there, especially on a Friday. Like I've said, I'm not a big Friday trader unless I've got positions on or big things are happening. But that's where I think if we start to see these shorts continue like we've seen yesterday, like we saw earlier this week, if we continue to see these shorts coming in, that's not a far off move down below. All right, next, let's go ahead and look at the NASDAQ. Let's keep it moving here. Same thing, NASDAQ blowing through 200 period moving average, blowing through all these moving averages, blew through 10%, right? 10% has been taken out. We are getting rather close to our 15% down here at 14,250. Let's just give ourselves a little bit of a visual so we kind of know where we're looking at as this market continues lower. 14,250 is that 10% mark. So let's keep this one in mind as we continue to see what this market's doing. All right, so we're pretty much unchanged so far at the moment. Settlement price in this market is 14,841. 14,841. I'm sorry. Yeah, 14,841. Seems a little high for settlement price. I guess, no, I think I got my levels, my things messed up a little bit. Okay, 14,841 is settlement price. All right, so this market down just a little bit off the open. Same concept here as we were looking at in the S&P 500. All right, that's kind of my same thought process here. I'm not looking for huge range off the get-go here. We are, like, Cheryl said, we're red right now. We are moving to the downside, but there is opportunity for this market. So Hull moving average, that's been a big one here that's really set us up nicely. We're kind of right on that. Holding below Hull moving average, what would that mean by Hull moving average standards or by principle of the Hull moving average? If Hull moving average is above where the market is trading, look for the market to continue lower. If we start to see that market rotate inside, look to see the market continue higher. So what I'm going to look for here off the open is I'm keeping myself relatively tight. Settlement price up above again at... Excuse me, just pulling something up on my other screen here. Settlement price up above again at 841. 841 is our settlement price. So that's going to be my high side. If this market opens up and we start to see some movement to settles, that's really where I'm going to kind of look for something. Whether I'm going to be getting out or getting in. It's going to take a lot just to see me see this market rotate to value. it's really going to take a lot for me. If we were on a Tuesday, hey, a little bit more reasonable. It's a Friday, no numbered Friday. I'm going to be a little bit more hesitant to say, hey, we may see this recover. Now, not saying it couldn't happen if we do see this market open up and we take off to the upside. That's where I'm going to start to look. I'm going to first look kind of at swing low back in here, right down at 15,000. No surprise there, big fat round number. Then I'm going to look for this market to rotate potentially to value. Now, if not, if we see this market rotate lower, you guys, we talked about it, 14,250. 14,250 is that 15% sell from the highs. That's where I'm going to look to see if I can get this market if we start to see the sell-off and these sellers continue to overpower and take this market down. All right, next, let's go ahead and look at the gold. All right, gold has been on a nice directional uptick here as of late. All right, so we are seeing this market kind of continuing this trend to the upside. Let's talk channel, right? Let's talk about these channels. I want to point it out because that's how I look at markets. Come on. All right, again, we're looking at a daily, but it really helps if you kind of create yourself a little bit of a visual. Say, hey, I'm getting an idea here. This market has, when I look at this trend or the channel or the way this market has been trading over the last 2 months, my whole moving average is a 20 period, Charles. As we see this market kind of continuing this trend higher, I can see that we're kind of on the high side. And as the markets approach this high side, it's rotated back inside. So I may be a little hesitant here today to jump on longs. Something we want to think about, right? That's how I use these. I'm not using this because I'm going to say, hey, here's my execution, or hey, I'm in the middle, I'm not doing anything. No, when I'm looking at the higher time frame, I'm getting an idea of where we stand overall. It helps me kind of create a visual. If I don't have this chart here, if I don't have this little bit of trend, I'm not getting a great idea of what we've got going on, right? I can sit here and say, hey, all right, we got swing high, but oh man, lower high. Am I going to rotate back inside? Am I going to go check highs from before? There's a lot of things going on here that we want to pay attention to. So for me, that's all I'm looking at. It helps kind of create confidence in what this market is doing. All right, so let's go ahead and look a little bit closer at our 30-minute settlement price in the gold is 1842.60. 1842.60. This market has pretty much unchanged at this point. Now, we're in really actually a great location. This market has worked from low to high all night long. And now, here's what I'm going to look at. Same thing. Do we see acceptance inside value? This market has opened up. We're starting to see a little bit of volume coming in. Nothing huge yet. This market's opened up. Now I want to see if value rejects, I'm looking for rotation to the downside and go check overnight lows. If not, I want to see acceptance inside and I want to see this market work from low to high in value. That's what I'm going to look for. Pretty simple setup here for me this morning. I want to see it trade inside. We're in a pivotal location. I want to see it trade inside, accept inside, and then we've got a chance. Then I think we've got a chance. Otherwise, I'm going to look for this rotation back to the inside. And maybe I'm not going to make it all the way to swing low, but I'm definitely going to start to look for this market to kind of make that trend lower. Now, keep in mind, yesterday was a rare day that we saw some good movement. All right, over the last couple of days, this market tends to be a little choppy, a little concerning. When it comes to regular U.S. trading hours. So just be cautious of that one. Scott, no, I'll be honest with you, I don't look at a 5-minute chart. My whole moving average is strictly going to be on a 30-minute chart. I don't really go lower than that. The only market I'll sometimes look lower is in the NASDAQ. I'll look at a 15. All right, let's keep moving through here. We got the euro. Like I said, so euro last week and into the beginning of this week, we were trading well outside of this channel that this market's traded in. Hey, let's talk channel, right? We're working sideways. What am I looking for? Well, it works very simple, right? It works from high to low. It works from low to high, and it works from side to side. That's what I'm looking at. We kind of rotated back inside a little bit of a channel. We are now kind of in the center of that. So, okay, that's given us something to think about. Do I see rotation to the low side or do I see rotation to the high side coming up? Well, we got to think about extenuating factors. What else is going on? Inflation, we'll talk about that. You got the U.S. dollar being affected and the euro being affected by that. So, let's kind of get a closer look at what we have going on. Now, again, another market setting up really nicely. We have worked throughout the pre-market here and into the open of this market. We have seen this market work from low to high to value. I'm going to look for that to kind of continue. I'm looking for this market to kind of stay within value right now, today. If I start to see this market trading outside of value high, we do have some move up above. What I want to point out here is we're going back to this unchecked point of control right up here at 114.16 half. 114.16 half. So we do have something to keep in mind of up above. But really, I'm looking to kind of continue to keep this market staying inside and not getting too wild. So, if we start to see this market working up here, we may look for an opportunity. Again, I'm not a breakout trader. I'm not going to, if the market starts to come up to this level, I'm not going to say, hey, here's my breakout, buy it right away. The buy really comes in once we start to see acceptance up above. What I like to look for is I like to see the market come up, pending order flow, pending what the market is telling me. I like to look for rotation or rejection at levels to see it stay inside. That's really where I make my bread and butter. All right, lastly, let's take a look at this 10-year note, and we'll get on out of here. 10-year note, steady decline. We've seen a nice uptick here the last couple of days as the equities have sold off. Inversely correlated, equities lower, treasuries higher. We're also seeing those yields come back down. As yields come back down, look to see treasuries trend and move higher. So we're getting that so far. 10-year note really off to a strong start here so far today. Just continuing the grind. As we continue a grind like this, all we want to do is we're looking for weakness in this market to kind of continue with directional trade. Market's holding above overnight highs. I'm going to look for this thing to kind of continue as long as I keep a close eye on what's going on in my yields. All right, guys, that's what we got here for some of these markets today. Hope something we've gone through has helped you out a little bit. I just want to make sure I see everything. If there's any questions, can you talk about the marketing elves and how you make a playlist out of the market forecasts on YouTube and also a playlist for the market recap? That way, can we just... I see what you're saying. I'm like, what are market? Oh, I got you. Yeah, I can definitely see if we can get them into their own little playlists. I can definitely ask about that. You got me all confused there for a second. Yeah, James, I'm a mini. I don't really mess with micros. I think they're a great product. I really do like them. They just don't suit my style of trade. I think my expectations, I'm not going to really dabble with micros personally too much. But again, I think they are a phenomenal product out there, especially someone that's had a downturn or risk is, they want to keep their risk really tight, or they want to kind of learn some new styles, right? I think everyone wants to talk about this cool idea of like scaling in and out. I do it. All right, I don't argue that. I scale in, I scale out, I keep positions on, I'm moving things around, I'm doing a lot of stuff, right? Scaling's a great tool as a trader. It's really hard when you're doing it in something like the mini, right? NASDAQ, you can look at that and say, hey, $5 a tick, it's reasonable. Well, we all know how quick NASDAQ can move through 50 ticks, right? Then we can blow through some cash pretty well. But if we look at the micro, we can kind of learn to trade it, learn about the scaling in and out of positions like that. Same with the S&P. So there's some opportunity there. I do love the micros for what they are. So my personal platform that I do all my personal trading on is TT. I also run a CTS account. I think their charting's pretty good on CTS. And then, I've got TS or Tradeovate here for forecast recap stuff. But I like CTS as it relates to Top Steps platforms. I think CTS is my favorite of all of those, very closely related to my TT platform, which is what I've been using for a long time. Let's see here. Do you take into account volatility to choose how far to put? Oh, gosh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like volatility, right? If we're seeing ATR, average true range, if you're starting to see that kind of expand, right? We're seeing our bigger ranges coming through. We got to keep that in mind, pending news and information that's coming out. I mean, I can't think of one particular right now for the ES. like days like yesterday when you're starting to see that big sell-off and those bigger moves, it's where you got to be comfortable with a little bit more of a stop. Can also change your thought process on that and say, hey, I got to keep my stops even tighter in this. But no, I mean, everything is volatility based, right? When we look at what this market is doing throughout the day, we start to get an idea. We get an idea if this is going to be a big day or a small day based off of information that's coming out. So a day like today, for me, I look at the equities right now. They're going to be a relatively tight day. I want to keep my stops a little bit tighter. I'm not expecting huge directional moves on a Friday after a big sell-off. I don't expect any of that. So I'm really coming in on a day like today, keeping things tighter, be strictly out of the idea that I don't think, again, can change here very quickly. But right now, my thought process is I'm not expecting a big day. Therefore, I'm going to tighten up my stops a little bit. I'm not expecting that volatility. Robson, good morning. Just want to make sure I get through everything here, guys. I definitely don't want to miss anything. Yeah, my whole moving average is a 20 period. I don't look lower than a 30-minute. I usually use it strictly on a 30-minute. It just helps a little bit for me. Not an execution tool. A confirmation tool. That's what I consider indicators. They're confirmations. They're not execution. We're not jumping in on them because of that. Nice catch there, Autolicious. Equanimous, where do you go watch the yields? So I actually trade yields. So that's in one of my platforms that I'm using. So I do trade yield spreads. That's actually one of the bigger things that I did trade prior to coming to Top Step. But you can also just follow them on, CNBC has a ticker for them. I think they're a little behind, but you can watch them there. I think that's where most people are catching them. You can put on some sort of market channel, Bloomberg. I think they all have them. But I watch them through one of my platforms. Let's see. Is there a specific chapter in the podcast talking about how do you guys read the order flow? You said it like 5 times today. Juan, that's a great question. Jack and I actually, I think, talked about it in last week's podcast. Order flow is it's a really difficult thing. I think when you talk about order flow, it's an art. It really is to kind of follow it. I would say sit and just put your dome next to a chart and watch how the dome reacts as the market moves. It's something that you just have to kind of start to, it's like driving stick shift, right? Every car is going to be a little bit different, where that clutch catches. The other night I was driving my buddy's race car, and then I have a hot rod that I drove. I was driving, so I'm kind of flipping between the two. In the race car, I got to run it up to like 4,200 RPM before the clutch catches. The hot rod I'm in was like 2,800. So I'm moving between these two cars, and the clutch just catches a little bit different. And that's kind of order flow. It's like you got to just start to feel it out and see where that clutch is going to catch before that car starts rolling. I think order flow is a very similar concept to that. Let's see here. Do you need to pay for those platforms, Dan? What do you think of TradingView? Ryan, I think TradingView is great. I know a lot of people talk about it. My platforms, yeah, I've got a pretty hefty fee on my TT account and my CTS. I've had a CTS account for a long time in TT. TT is a more expensive platform, probably one of the most expensive platforms out there to have, but it's what I've been using for 15 years. I can't walk away from it. What are the tickers or in yields that you follow? I do 2, 5, 5, 10, 10, 10, 30. Those are what I'm looking at. I'm always just trading. I trade the spread on the yields quite a bit. Quick question. Are you allowed to hold positions overnight in the combine? Bogdan, great question. Overnight, if you talk overnight, like when you close your eyes to go to sleep and then wake back up, yeah. You do have to be flat prior to 3:10 p.m. Central Time and then open back up at 5 p.m. Central Time. So there is an hour and 50-minute gap that we want to see you guys flat. And then you can open right back up at 5 p.m. Awesome, guys. Ryan, thank you. Awesome, Federico. Well, I'm glad you guys like the platforms. I know equities are going to get opened here. Like I said, I'm not going to trade today. I'm done for the week. Yesterday was a good day. I'm not going to push it at this point. John will be back with everyone, though, on Monday. So I hope you guys all have a spectacular day. Get out there, trade smart, and keep in mind, it's Friday. Patience is key here. If you've had a good week, don't push it. Don't walk into Friday night after you gave up a great week. Nothing I hate more than giving up a good week on a Friday. All right, so make sure you're locking in the profits you got here this week. If you're down this week and you choose to trade, the goal is not to get it back. The goal is just to put yourself in a little better position come Monday. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and sign it out. Like I said, John will be back on Monday. So until then, stay safe, wash your hands, trade smart, trade well. Have a great weekend. And look forward to seeing you guys in the markets. Take care, everybody.